Good Saturday morning, everybody. How y'all doing? Hope you're all well. It's time for that coffee as well. I know it's not model cars and coffee, but I still need my coffee. So, I'm Jason, Klein Race Car Designs. Thanks for all my subscribers, and thanks to all the people that view and subscribe to the AMC Livecast. That's our show on Thursday nights. Me and Mike are the hosts. And then we have one of the best producers around, and that's Bruce from Bruce's Eclectic World. And Bruce really makes us look good, and he does a lot of work for us. So I cannot begin to say thank you enough to Bruce. But today, what we're going to discuss is we've got an awesome gift from one of our sponsors. It's from our buddy Josh Reese over at VCG Resins. This is the famous pizza boxes. So I think Josh should also work for Mobius, because these babies are packed. And once you take the components out, it's hard to get them back in, just like a Mobius model. So he's also a great supporter of my channel as well. And this means a lot. Josh has said this before in his interview on the AMC show, is that when he gets involved with people, it's like family for him, and I couldn't correct that any better. He is 100% right. When you're working with great people, vendors, whatever, it is like family. So that means a lot. We've had some tremendous, phenomenal guests on the AMC show, and I know that that's going to continue. There's a lot of great people that I know I have on my list to interview. And I know that we want to get some other people from the real racing world as well. And we're going to bring those fine folks on too. So, all going to take time. We're going to get through a lot more modelers and stuff like that first. And then that way we're building the base. And then we will eventually get into more where we can bring some people in that were in the industry that helped develop a lot of these products. And then explain how even some of the model manufacturers then took their design off the real products. So today's episode is another one of those situations where we have a motor here that is a print done by VCG Resins, designed by Scale Speed Garage, which is Chris Bell. And this here is a piece of Chevrolet racing history at this point. So let's turn this camera around and let's see what's in this great pizza box here from BCG. All right, let's flip her around. All right, now let's get into this. Here it is, the pizza box. I always enjoy getting these little pizza boxes from Josh. Again, these things are packed. All right, so now that we're into this guy, these boxes are packed full. Of course, you get your sticker. You get a business card too. I've already got a couple business cards, so he knows he doesn't need to send me one of them every time, but the stickers are always nice to get. I'm gonna get, I think over time, I'm gonna get so many stickers, I'm gonna have these things on my real cars as well. But gave me some extras here. It looks like we've got the inline fuel filter pack here as well. Wasn't expecting that. Very cool. This looks like a really cool design. You got different length inline fuel filters, so you can select depending on what your project is. These things are really nice. A lot of guys love this style of fuel filter. Let's see if we can get this in camera here. You can see here, let's see if it will focus. The holes are already in the ends of this filter. So that's going to make it a much easier for you to plumb this filter and get all your fuel lines running in there. So that is really, really cool. Myself, personally, I have one of these on, but I still run the canister style to on the initial so that the sediment drops. Also, what we've got here in the box, he sent extra, is the inline electric fuel pumps. Very, very cool, very important. These here look just like the Hollies. So let's see if we can get this one to focus, because the detail on these are amazing. All the fins on these things are just remarkable. My camera is not wanting to focus. I got a lot of sun coming in today. We are going to have some really nice weather today. Now this here is the killer new product that just came out. This is available on VCG resins very soon if it isn't already. This here is the DRC race engine. This engine here is an iconic piece in pro stock and drag racing. There's a little tidbit right there. So this here, the detail on this motor is going to be phenomenal. I can just tell. I mean, look at how packed this bag is. Really remarkable to see what this thing looks like. What do we got here? We got a couple packages here on the back side. Make sure we set them down. Let's see. Oh, oh wow! Look at this. These are all the fuel fittings and oil line fittings, and I think that's even a water manifold as well. Really cool. I broke one off here. I got one laying right there. Let's put that back on the towel. Just broke another one off. So they're really nice, but be careful. They're fragile. They come off the platform very easy, which is good, because you don't want to have to fight these little guys, that's for sure. So let's just set that down over here before I don't want to lose any more of those fittings. Just so you know too, let's dump that off. I don't think my camera's going to pick that up, but they do have these things all labeled A, B, C, D, and E. If you can kind of see that there you can kind of see it a little bit. They've done a really good job, just like a model sprue, on categorizing and labeling those fittings. Let me get these little guys back over here so we can package them up into a bag. They come off very easy, folks, so be very careful with that. Let's move this out of the way. You're going to say, well, how do I know where to put all those? Well, we'll get to that here in a minute. We're going to go through some of these other parts here. Again, we've got some really detailed carburetors here. This motor was designed for pro stock drag racing, for all the Chevrolet guys, the Pontiac guys, the Oldsmobile guys. Man, those carburetors are nice. Wow, those are beautiful carburetors. Just beautiful carburetors. Sorry folks, I needed to get a light. I needed to do these things justice. I mean, look at these carburetors. Wow, those carburetors are amazing. So here, what we've got is the vacuum pump. So they use a vacuum pump to create a negative pressure, and that also causes the rings to seat in the bores much better. And so then you get more power, you get better evacuation, crankcase evacuation. So that's what that component there is. Let's get into this bag here and see what we've got. Alrighty. Oh yeah, we've got a lot of goodies in this one. Lots and lots of goodies in this one. So we have the mid plate here, timing chain cover. We have also got a really nice racing starter. This here is an option piece, basically, that they have designed to put in this motor package, but this is an alternator. Generally, race cars ain't going to run an alternator because they bring them back especially these days as well. But even in pro stock, they push them back. They don't. They run them. They do the burnout. They make the pass, and then they push them back. Valve spring life is crucial on a naturally aspirated motor, and more heat cycles and runtime kills valve springs and parts. So they don't do that. Looks like we've got a this looks like an alternator bracket. Yep. So it looks like we've got an alternator bracket here to mount the alternator. We have a couple different belt options and pulleys. So right here is going to be your magnetic crank trigger and balancer, and then you've got your mandrel off the front of the crank there. That's got your pulleys for your oil pump drive, which is over by my tweezers, and then your vacuum pump drive for your crankcase pressure. But like I said here, they've gave you the option with this motor, especially if you were to put it in like a street application or whatever, that they give you another harmonic balancer with crank trigger, the arbor, and the pulleys and the belts. But now you're going to have that third one to run an alternator if you're going to put this in say a street application or a pro street build. Then you've got your charging capabilities. Also, you've got your electric water pump, which is very nice. Looks like a CSR or a Metzer water pump. You could detail it either way. Again, with this is one thing that I'm digging with Josh's parts too, is all these parts, if you can see that, the holes are already in there, so it's going to make it a lot easier to wire if you're going to use that distributor cap. If you're going to put a regular distributor in this motor, or if you're going to go to a conventional, you could do it either way. You could do an independent coil pack. You could do anything at this stage of the game. All right, finally got a hold of one. So this looks like this is going to be your thin MSD style distributor that you put on the front of off the cam gear. This would be the drive for that, and then you could put your cap on there. This here is very correct, but you wouldn't have this big style cap on there. They would be an outward cap. I can show you on another build, but for this build you're going to be fine with that. It's going to stick out a little further, but you could shorten that up. And you got a couple different versions. It looks like they got a mount here with a vacuum advance. They wouldn't run a vacuum advance on a race motor, but you have the options. You got a couple of really teeny breathers here. Really, really cool. Again, just take your time. Be careful with these parts. Like resin can be very brittle and fragile at times. So just take your time with it. That's the main thing. You got plenty of time. Just do it right. Let's see, we've got more packages. Let's get this paper out. Man, do we have the parts. This is one heck of a kit. I've gotten a lot of motor kits from 3D printer guys before, but this kit is got a lot of parts. So definitely worth the money. All right, so let's get into the headers here. We've got a couple different versions of headers. We've got your conventional pro stock open header design. So you've got a right and a left for that. And then they've got one that has the conventional style, but has the flange so you could hook your exhaust system up if you were going to put this in something that had a full chassis exhaust or whatever. The block is very, very well detailed. Of course, it's got your holes in there already for your water lines. It's got your holes to mount your timing cover, crank centerline hole. It's got your main caps in it. I mean, it is detailed just like a real block inside there. You can see the crank journal. You can see all the bores. Really, really nice. They got some really nice detail to the the valley area where the camshaft and lifters go. The supports that are in this block are very accurate. Even has, let's see, even has the head stud mount holes. So even if you didn't want to put this motor in a kit, which this motor is going in that Warren Johnson kit. That Warren Johnson kit does not have a motor as detailed as this. This motor deserves to be in a Warren Johnson car, so that's where this one's going. But what I was saying is this motor would be worth buying an engine stand or something like that, you know, and putting this in a diorama and putting some head studs in there and having the rest of these parts detailed and on a bench behind it. The detail on this motor, you could easily have that displayed as somebody building a motor. Just remarkable. Same thing, cylinder heads are awesome. Look at the detail on these heads. Plug holes are already there, so that's going to make things easier to wire. You can see you got your valve springs, your runners, all that stuff, your chambers in these heads. The valves are in there. I said again, I will say this again, this motor would be just an awesome motor to have as a diorama piece and on the bench. In fact, I need to get another one of these and do that very same thing. Practice what I preach, because this is one hell of a piece here. You get a couple different options. Most pro stock guys always gonna run the 2.4 setup. This is what is of choice and what's going to keep that motor alive, because you want a barrel per cylinder basically, and you want them angled over the intake valve. This here was something that's kind of been common over the years, where they've done this sheet metal style intake with a single 4. You'll see that a lot in, like, if you want to call it slower classes, you know, your 9-second super gas stuff, blah blah blah, versus pro stock, where you have, you know, a throttle crutch. You can detune the motor to run, because you're in a basically a bracket time of running in the 9s, and so you can put a single 4, and some classes only allow a single 4. So you have the option here with this build to do it as a conventional pro stocker, or do it where it's more of a modern super gas or a class car. So it looks like we've got 4 valve covers here. That's what we're doing, going through. Okay, so of course you got your hole for your breather, but now let's see if we can get that in there. This is going to be extremely hard to see that. That there is the old school script for the Oldsmobile logo, which is really cool that you have that option. And then this one here is what I'm going to be using, especially for this Warren Johnson build. And let's see if we can get that to focus. Boy, that's tough. This here is the main one that you would see on all of the race engines, the big blocky, bold Oldsmobile script from basically the 90s. So those ones there are what we're going to put on this motor to put in this 93 Olds Warren Johnson car. So also they've gave you a couple different oil pan options here, which is really cool. You've got one here, so both of them are going to go on the same way, to where the sump is towards the right side of the motor for performance. That's how that's going to work. And then due to the rotation of the crankshaft, and then it has all the ports drilled for the suction lines to go in to do that. Now what you got here is you got one that's basically an open pan, and then you have one that has all the screen in there, and basically the windage tray is what. Alrighty, so now we just opened up here the oil bag. Basically has all our oil componentry to this race engine. This here is your dry sump oil tank. They don't want to keep the oil in the pan. Not only for the reasons of you can lower the motor down with a pan that is much thinner, but you also don't want any oil getting slung around the crankshaft because that slows the crank down. So they remote oil off to the side with these dry sump systems. This one's got all the Boss pins already designed there for your fittings. Let's see if we can get that to focus here. So your fittings can go on there. Very nicely detailed can. Got a very nice mount here to hold that off to the side of the motor plate. You also have a very nice oil filter mount right here. As you can see, it's already got the hole for the fittings. Let's set that down. Here is your oil filter right there. That goes on to that mount that we just showed you. Now we've got a couple little pieces here. One of them here is this guy right here. So this here is your breather expansion tank. This goes right off the side of this oil tank, and then on the top of that you have another breather here that goes on top. Now that's generally what you're going to run. These systems with the vacuum pump, they basically try to not have breathers on the valve covers, less chance of oil leaks onto the headers, etc. But you want the motor to be a sealed system. When you're talking about race engines, you look at it as it's an air pump is what it is. That's how the terminology is. That's how you look at it. So everything has to be sealed. Crankcase has to be sealed in order for all these systems to work properly. So you basically vent it off the side of this with this oil canister here. And then if any excess oil was to be pushed out, it would catch it in that can. Now, the other thing here is this guy, which is going to be your main piece for your oiling system. And as you can see here, it's got all the holes for the fitting. And this goes basically on your left-hand side of the block. This here is your oil pump. This is a 4-stage oil pump. So you're going to be having some lines that are coming from the pan that are your suction lines, and then you're going to have a feed line as well that's going to take it back to this tank. Very cool, very detailed parts here. Man, really, really cool. Let's see, what do we got here? All right. So right here, this here is basically a Boss and a mount that goes where the original oil filter would be on the block. So that's where that would go there, and it also has lines so that you're pulling the oil out of that valley, and you could also run that through an oil cooler. Generally on a drag race application, especially sump system, this is completely blocked off. They generally don't use this anymore. They won't even machine the Bosses in them, and they will pull the oil from the bottom of the pan, from anything that's coming out of your main bearings. And a lot of times they will have a port somewhere in the cam journal area to pull any of the oil that's in the cam, because they don't want oil going down through the camshaft holes and hitting the crank. That takes away RPM and speed of the engine. So they basically, a lot of times they don't even use them Bosses anymore. So most of your race engines don't even have that mount anymore for oil filter. Everything is remote these days. But this is a cool feature here that you can put on there. And in the days they may have drawn from them ports, but that went away. Especially with a dry sump system, you wouldn't need to use that at all. But for modeling purposes, with this block, you could put that in there and then put your oil filter on there if you really wanted to, and make it look like a wet sump engine, and then change the oil pan and put a hump in there. you have many options with this motor. This motor, they've done a really good job with the design of this motor to give you many options to use this motor, but then you can also put this motor on kill and put it in this type of application for your build. Really, the sky is the limit really on the detail of how you're going to do this. There is a lot of research that you can do on these motors. Like I said, this was a development race motor for the Chevrolet camp, which included the Pontiac and the Oldsmobile guys. There was a set of valve covers that basically had the Chevrolet badging on it, and there was a set of valve covers that had the Pontiac logo on it as well. Warren here has been on all aspects of the spectrum with Oldsmobiles and Pontiacs. He's always been very big on the Oldsmobile side of things, and then went to Pontiac towards the end of his career with the Firebird and the GXP and stuff like that as well. So this motor here would do any justice to any Chevrolet based Pro Stock kit. If you were to do a drag and drive type deal, you could easily use this motor as well. Super gas, this motor would be great. And like I said, if you wanted to put a killer piece in your street car, you could. You can eliminate the use of this dry sump system very easily. You can put a filter where the boss is on a stock Chevrolet block if you wanted to. And then you also have the option of using an alternator, and they give you the option to run an alternator system as well on there. You would have to go to a more of a sump pan if you were to make it look like a conventional Chevrolet deal. And then you would have to cut the belt off of these deals, because you wouldn't particularly run a dry sump oil pump in the front here on your left hand corner. So very, very cool piece. Also, people are probably going, oh dude, that's a lot of stuff. You're right, this is a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of detail parts with all the fittings if you're going to do the dry sump system. But the guys over at Scale Speed Garage and Josh Reese have come up with an instruction manual that they are sending with this kit, and it gives you a detailed list of all the parts, all the pieces. There again, like I was trying to explain on that plate, everything is letter coded. It tells you what size AN fitting it is, whether it's a 10, a 12. It tells you oil pan, pump scavenge, external oil tank. It's got everything listed. Remote filter for external fuel pump from tank. They've got everything in here. 4-in-1 cooling manifold, radiator hose, which you see on a lot of race motors. So really, really cool. Like I said, there you go. You can see this. I just kind of oil, fuel, and cooling. They show you here where these fittings go for the scavenging of this system. Right there, from the pan, oil pump. That's how your oil pump gets mounted. I know a lot of people are going to be a little bit confused on the oil pump. Then you get into the tank here, and they're going to show you how this thing's going to get plumbed as well. So then you've got fittings on top of the oil pump. Here is going to be your external scavenge to the oil pump right here. This is where they're going to tie in the oil pump remote oil filter. And you could even put the cooler there if you wanted to too. Like I said, on race motors, this is pretty much blocked off. They don't use that in Boss for anything. They're pulling oil from other aspects of the block. That's the thing with drag racers and engine guys. They got no problem drilling holes and feeding oil and pulling oil from any different direction here. So now they've got this listed as a fuel pump. On this motor, they wouldn't have a fuel pump right here. This is more more or less, and even the shape of this is basically this is your vacuum pump. So they're going to run a vacuum pump on a Pro Stock motor, and then all the fuel pumps are going to be electrified from the back side of the car, especially in that era. The vacuum pump is what's more critical for these motors to get that negative pressure. This block does, so then here you got your water pump to your radiator fitting. You're also, let's see here, yes, so this block does have the provision for the stock fuel pump on this model. That would be just filled in on the one-to-one, because they never used the fuel pump for those things. And then they've got the located at the radiator is this 4-wide manifold here, and they show how they're plumbing the water directly into the block. So, which is very, very cool. This is a very detailed motor. I can see where there could be some confusion coming ahead on this thing, but there is a lot of research out there that is available for these things. You could, going back to this thing, like I said, this is supposed to be a vacuum pump for crankcase ventilation and pressure, to create a negative pressure on the ring and to evacuate the system, because they try to close it off. So your line would basically come from your valve cover they draw up. They had some guys will crankcase out as well, and you're still scavenging from the lower part of the motor with your dry sump oil pump as well. You could make this a fuel pump if you really wanted to, like the instructions state, but to be accurate, the fuel pumps in these things were all electric. They didn't kind of really go back into the mechanical stuff until later on, and even those mechanical pumps that they're using these days are still be cable driven, especially nowadays with the inline pumps and your gas tank pumps as well. Your submergible stuff, a lot more pressure. But again, really, really cool that you got these kind of directions with any kind of a 3D printed part. Very, very nice. I love it. I really do. I think those guys did one heck of a job on this whole project, from Chris all the way down to Josh Reese on the printing. Again, all of Josh's parts extremely clean, extremely crisp. The resin is remarkable. I'm loving all of this stuff as well. Really, really good product. You won't be disappointed. People are going to say, what's the cost? I believe the cost is $27 on this. These inline fuel filters are going to be $4. And then these inline fuel pumps are going to be $3. They're beautiful. All the stuff's beautiful. Go over there, use the AMC Live 10 discount code. You'll get 10% off. If you're a member of Scale Speed, a lot of times they also have discount codes in there for VCG as well. Go over there and check that out, or you probably already have, being that VCG is going to be your main printer for Scale Speed Garage. So again, go over there and check out both of these gentlemen, Scale Speed Garage, VCG Resins. Get you one of these motors. These motors are going to be key for anything that's Warren Johnson, especially these Oldsmobiles, Larry Morgan, the Jig Coughlin car. You got the Jigs car, you got the super clean Larry Morgan car, you have the Warren Johnson Pontiacs, you have the Ricky Smith Pontiac Firebird, you have the Jerry Ekman Pennzoil Firebird kits that are out there. All of those things will be awesome in here. Now for the Pontiac guys, you're going to have to get a little creative with your valve covers. Both sets of these say Oldsmobile, but there was, on these particular race motors, they did have a Chevrolet valve cover, and they also had a Pontiac valve cover as well. For the Warren was always, he's always been a guy that really speak his mind. and push the envelope on engineering and development. And he's definitely one heck of a guy to meet. I've had the pleasure of meeting this gentleman quite a few times and being in the pits with him. I had a buddy that was painting some of these cars back in the day when these cars were being built here in Minnesota by Don Ness Racecraft. So it was very cool to go to Don Ness's shop. My buddy used to paint a lot of these cars for in emergencies, Kenny, and getting to meet guys like Warren Johnson, his son Kurt, Scott Jeffrion, Larry Morgan, all those guys used to come up here and get cars done by Don Ness back in the day. Really, really cool. So this motor is definitely something you're going to want for your build. Very detailed. This one is going to go in this kit right here. These Oldsmobiles were really, this body style, they ran this a long time. So really cool car for him. So I'm going to get off here. I wasted enough of your time. Let's flip this guy around. All right. So with that being said, I really, really appreciate this video. Is definitely longer. I tried my best with this camera. I've got to get a better camera in here to do these, especially with these small parts. Doing the general stuff, that works fine with this phone, but there's much better ways of doing this. I owe that to Josh 100% to get him a better resolution on these parts. These parts are way better than what you've seen here. Also, Tiffany from Dirt Road Cinderella is also got this motor this month from Josh. I'm sure her video is going to be really, really good. So go over there and check out Dirt Road Cinderella's video. In fact, if you want to see any of these parts in more detail, you're probably going to, she's got a much better camera system than me. So go over there and check out that. And you, between both of our videos, you'll probably get a really good vibe of what this motor is. This motor is a very cool piece. So I'm very excited to see this being designed. There's quite a few other race motors that are very unique. I have one out in the shop that is not in the modeling at all. There's a lot of that stuff that I would love to see get fruition to 3D printed files and printable to do these types of things. And same thing with a lot of the NASCAR motors and stuff like that as well. So, and I have a NASCAR motor as well. So that's something that's not even in the modeling world. Really, really cool stuff. Can't wait to get into this. I'm itching now because of this motor. I really want to do this Warren Johnson build. So I think to put things in motion, we're going to try and pack this back in the box. We're going to put this in the kit. And then I have a couple other sticker sets that I need to get made. And so I think we're going to put this in motion to contract out to somebody to make stickers, to remake these Warren Johnson stickers and a couple other projects. It's worth it now to being I got 3 models that need stickers. We're going to find somebody to produce some stickers for us, and then we'll have everything ready. So hopefully by the end of the year here, maybe I can get on this Warren Johnson build. There's some builds that I really am itching, that I have a lot of creative ideas that I really want to do that are very personal to me, and I want to get those done. So it's very hard to do everything as far as be a part of all the group builds, and there's so many great group builds on so many channels. So just do the ones that are fun for you. Don't feel pressure to get into any group build, even mine. That's why for the zombie group build, the Second Chance Zombie group build, that is meant to try and get people that have started something, get it across the finish line. So I have quite a few of those that I definitely want to get across the finish line this year, and be able to, a year from now, to show you that, hey, look, I got some of these things done that I started 10 years, 20 years, whatever the case may be. They're done, and they can go in cases and be enjoyed. So thanks again. Thanks to all the great supporters of this channel. Thanks to all the great supporters of the AMC show. With that being said, I'm going to get off here. I got some bench time to get going on some pieces, get some paint flowing, and we will see you on the next one. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.